Good morning! It's Uncle Lou here. How's everybody doing? Let me grab my coffee. How's everybody doing? I'm sure you're doing just great. I'm doing great too. Yep. Wednesday morning. So what's going on? UGA spring practice in full swing here. Just about halfway through it. Yep. What's been going on at practice? The usual, really. You know, you get different reports out about different things. A big storyline out of UGA spring practice this year, for obvious reasons, is sort of the difference in style or approach between the guy we used to have coaching here and Kirby Smart. And, you know, this is kind of a predictable series of stories that you're seeing come out, comparing and contrasting the old and the new. As far as a lot of Kirby's comments, that he's... Several comments he's made, he's been disappointed in different things here and there. I kind of expected that too. I mean, you guys know a lot of this is coach speak. I mean, he's not going to come in and say, wow, everybody is doing great, everything is perfect, and we're ready to go. Of course he's not going to say that. You know, most everything he says to the media is for the players to hear. It's a form of motivation. You know, you don't want the guys getting complacent. Of course, he wants them to keep working hard, work harder. So none of that's really been a surprise to me. Some people are trolling about Grayson Lambert being listed as the #1 quarterback going into spring training and or spring practice. And Kirby Smart even had a quote where some idiot reporter asked him, well, if you had to play a game tomorrow, who would your quarterback be? And he said Grayson Lambert. Well, of course he said Grayson Lambert. This was like the second day of spring practice when someone asked him this. So, you know, come on, that's the obvious answer. Who's listed as the #1 quarterback the second day in spring training, especially in the case of UGA this season, has absolutely nothing to do with who may or may not be named the starter come September 3rd. Now, does that mean that Grayson Lambert has no chance to start? No. There is a possibility, Georgia fans. Brace yourselves. There is a possibility that Grayson Lambert will be your starting quarterback this year. I'm definitely hoping that's not the case. I'm also not in the camp that believes that Jacob Eason should just be handed the keys to the car on day one just because he showed up on campus as the #1 ranked QB. Competition is healthy. Competition makes you better. I am really hoping that Jacob Eason progresses along and picks up the playbook and the terminology and does what he needs to do and things like that to earn the starting quarterback position come game 1. But, you know, that's definitely not set in stone. It's, it's really a complete toss-up right now between the three guys, Lambert, Ramsey, and Eason in terms of who's going to get the nod going into the first week there. There's lots of video floating around from spring practices. None of it is very long because, of course, the media access is limited at spring practices to about 15 or 20 minutes per day. So, you know, you get clips of linebackers going through tackling drills, offensive linemen going through blocking drills, quarterbacks throwing a few passes, running backs taking some handoffs, things like that. There's a lot of Nick Chubb video floating around out there. I've posted a few of them on this channel here. They're not hard to find if you want to find some more. Some people, I think, are getting a little too excited or carried away in terms of the Nick Chubb situation. I put a post on Facebook yesterday on a couple of different groups that I'm in, asking Georgia fans who they were most excited to see play in this year's spring game. And I disqualified Jacob Eason in the post because I figured about 95% of people who would have answered that question obviously would have said Jacob Eason. I mean, it's pretty much a given that everybody is looking forward to seeing what he can do and watching him sling the ball around on G-Day. So I wanted to know, other than Jacob Eason, who were some of the guys that Dog fans were looking forward to seeing during the spring game. And I was completely shocked and blown away by the number of people that said they're looking forward to seeing Nick Chubb play in the spring game. People, Nick Chubb is not playing in the spring game. That is not happening. There is a big difference between Nick Chubb taking a few handoffs, and jogging 5 or 10 yards down the field. There's a huge leap from that to live football, which is what you have at the Georgia G-Day game. He's not playing in the spring game. He's months away, guys. Months away from being ready for any sort of contact or being tackled or hit, running and cutting full speed, things like that. Now, he's ahead of schedule, don't get me wrong, and I couldn't be happier with the way he's progressing. But I think some people need to temper their expectations here when it comes to Nick Chubb. He's not playing in the spring game. That is not happening. He may be suited up on the sideline. He may be in street clothes on the sideline or something like that, but he's not playing in the spring game. That's not happening. And just to give you sort of an idea of how these spring games are handled if you're not familiar with it, last year Nick Chubb was 100% healthy in the spring. Not a thing wrong with him, not so much as a hangnail. And he had about 5 or 6 carries in the spring game. That was it. A.J. Turman got the majority of the carries in last year's spring game, and we see how that worked out. He never saw the field again. So, no one's more excited or more anxious to see Nick Chubb than Uncle Lou, I promise you. But this injury that you have to realize, guys, he had this injury in October, October 10th of last year. Use Todd Gurley as an example. It was considered miraculous how quick Todd Gurley recovered from his knee injury his last year at Georgia in terms of when he actually started playing for the Rams. And that was, 10 months? He suffered that injury at UGA in the Auburn game that year, which was in November. And he didn't start playing for the Rams until the middle of September. So about 10 months time there before he played, and that was considered a quick recovery. So if you use the 10-month rule, which is unusual, it's usually longer. Even if you go by Todd Gurley's 10-month recuperation period, you're looking at August at the earliest before he's really ready for any sort of live action or anything like that. I do think there's a possibility he will play in the UNC game, and I think that's what we need to be concerned about and focused on, not him wanting to see him play in the spring games. Kind of ridiculous. I do think there's a chance he'll play in the UNC game. I find it very unlikely that he would start the UNC game, and his carries, I'm pretty sure, if I had to guess right now, I'd say his carries would be extremely limited in the UNC game and the second game, and my hope is to have him back and ready to start and ready to go 100% by the Tennessee game, which is October 1st. Now, if we can get him back a week before that, that would be great. We play at Ole Miss. I know we beat Ole Miss 10 times in a row, looking to make it 11, but they do have a legit defense, or at least they have in years past, and probably have a pretty good defense this year too. So I think that's more where we need to be setting our focus in terms of Nick Chubb. Is the actual season. You're not going to see him in the spring game. A few other people were naming folks like Mecole Hardman. He's not enrolled. Elijah Holyfield, he's not enrolled. These people can't play in the spring game. The only freshmen that can play in the spring game are the 6 early enrollees. So Jacob Eason, Isaac Nauta, Julian Rochester, those guys. You'll get to see them play in the spring game, but the rest of those guys that we signed for this year's class are still in high school, folks. So they're not going to be playing in the G-Day game. Anyway, that's about it. I have some more mail time coming up. I think it might come today. If it does, I'll do a video later this afternoon. You'll want to stay tuned for that, especially if you're a UGA fan. I got something coming that's pretty cool. At least I think it is. So I'll do a video for you for that. And Uncle Lou's taking a trip, so I'll be out of town all next week. It's spring break in Augusta is next week. If you guys know about the Masters golf tournament that they have every year here in Augusta, Georgia, where Uncle Lou lives, down here, that's spring break every year when the kids are out of school. So Uncle Lou's taking a trip next week. I'll let you know where when it gets a little closer to the time. But yeah, I'm going to be gone for 7 or 8 days. I have to. And I'm going to too. But anyway, have a great day, a good morning, and I'll talk to you guys later.